Introducing the all-new Lexus RX 350L, designed for room. Room for a power-folding third row. Room for up to 7.
Yeah, we should do today.
And room for the unexpected. The 3-row RXL. It's the RX with room for more. Click the banner to experience the RXL and RXL Hybrid. See your Austin or Lakeway Lexus dealer.
RX 450HL arriving spring 2018.
This is for my future baby mama. Hope your skin is black as midnight. I'll take you out there, Honda. I can put you in the bins. I can balance out your chakras. Fornication is a sin. We can fuck our name regardless. So our Father art in heaven as I pray for new McLarens. Pray the police don't come blow me.
Well, I'm at 150 episodes here on the Source Material podcast, and I'll tell you what, it's been a blast. And this evening, it's going to be a quick, short one here. And as for the whereabouts of one Ronnie Adams, well, let me just say, whatever crap he gets from us tonight, he darn well deserves. You must have. He's busy harumphing to himself. No harumphs.
I'm tired every fucking week with this guy. I'm tired of it. I'm not coming on the show. Fuck them peoples.
Now I'm sure whatever Ronnie Adams is doing is number one. I know he didn't forget about us because he was reading the series this morning and made a few comments on our chat. So it's not like he didn't forget to read the book. I think he probably just may have forgot we were doing the podcast tonight. Well, that's okay.
Let me give you my overview of this. Who is the Black Panther? Here's what I have to say. Black folks.
Oh, jeez. Oh, where's Ronnie Adams when you need him? Break the knob off.
Break the knob off.
But no, this evening we are discussing a 6-issue series came out in 2005 called Who is the Black Panther? Mark, I always ask you, I know the answer to this question, but I want you to let our listeners know why this book this week.
Well, there's a Black Panther movie coming out this Friday. It's already tracking to do good business, probably some of the best business in the Marvel Cinematic Universe outside of the Avengers films. This was one of those deals where I knew we were going to be covering a Black Panther book, but I was never a huge fan of Black Panther. I never read any of the solo series. If he was part of the Avengers, which I did read, that was fine. But but ultimately I didn't know a tremendous amount about the character, so I didn't know what book to pick up. And I happened to be in the comic book store here in Tampa, and I went through the Black Panther books, and I saw a book that said, "Who is the Black Panther?" And I went, "That's a great question. Maybe we should read this and find out what the answer is." And that's how this book and this show came to be.
Oh, yes. Well, I never collected Black Panther. It wasn't a title that I was interested in. I had the fortune to go to an auction with a good friend of ours, a previous co-host on the show, one good Stephen Marsh, who went to an auction with me in Athens, Ohio, and we got some books that were unbelievable. One of which Steven wanted to get some Black Panther issues. So a box that I bought had some Black Panther stuff in there, and I just let him pillage through it and take whatever he wanted because I wasn't interested really too much in the character himself. There wasn't anything key in there as far as I could tell. Trust me, if it was the first appearance of Black Panther, I'd been all over it. But the storyline, or the books were out of the 70s, and the storyline... Give me a second. I'm looking it up here real quick. There it is. All right. So this is Marvel Premiere featuring the Black Panther. Let me save this real quick. This is one of the issues that he was able to pull out of there. Check that out. Marvel Premiere featuring Black Panther, number 52.
It took me a minute to realize what that was. Because I saw KL and immediately my mind went to Klaw, which is one of his arch enemies.
Yep.
And he, who's also in the movie, was also in Age of Ultron. And then I was like, wait, that's not that says Clan. Oh, look, there's the rebel flag. Oh, good. It's Guy riding a horse.
I think there's a villain in here called the Hate Monger. And Stephen Marsh was trying to complete this story, actually, because he got this one issue and he was trying to get another issue of it. But anyway, yeah, so I saw that laying in there. Black Panther. Now, for those that are listening, this is what the front of it is. We have the Black Panther at last T'Challa, which is how I'm going to pronounce it tonight, by the way, T silent. T'Challa battles the Klan, and then we have an exclamation mark in the shape of I would call that a German S.
It's the Nazi S.
Yep, Nazi S. And we have a red hooded figure on a white horse with a bunch of Klansmen. We got the rebel flag in the background, a high priest of whatever. I have no idea what the titles are or the nomenclature.
He's the fucking Grand Wizard of the KKK.
Thank you.
I love the KKK, bitch. I love it when they fuck me, though.
Now,
love the KKK, bitch. Sorry.
In order for us, you got to think about what just happened. In order for us to figure out who that person was, we had to reference a song by a black artist about the KKK. Put that in your stocking.
Fucking a KKK bitch. That's what that song was about, Jesse Starcher. Stop dancing around. You say it the way Ice-T says it. He loves
Body
his
count.
KKK. Body count, motherfucker.
Count. It's in the house, ladies and gentlemen.
Body
counts in the house. All right, enough shenanigans there. Okay.
Body counts in the house. Body count.
Body
count in the house.
Body count. So, okay. So this evening we're talking
motherfucking T, bitch. Sorry, go ahead.
2005's 1 through 6. Who is the Black Panther? So this series started in 2005. It actually ran for quite a few issues, but we're just covering the first 6.
41 issues, as a matter of fact. I've been researching.
Nice, good job. And our writer of these first 6 issues, and maybe most of the series, because I think he went into the 7th issue as well. A guy by the name of Reginald Hudlin, not somebody I know a lot of work from. Then we have pencils, which this guy's been on this podcast quite a few times. Not personally, but we've talked about his work, and that is John Romita Jr. Think back to Daredevil, The Man Without Fear.
I feel like Reginald Hudlin, and I'll research it in a second. But
the dad from Family Matters?
No, I feel like he was like a Hollywood writer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When I was looking at the description of it, I thought it said Hollywood writer Reginald Hudlin, takes his expertise to Black Panther.
Yeah, take a look, see what you can find out. I'll kind of break down a few more things here. The inks are by a very, very prominent artist, a guy by the name of Klaus Janson. He's been around for quite a while. And I think we may have even talked about a book that he did here as well. So JR and Klaus Janson all on one book. And the tale is being written by Reginald Hudlin.
Reginald Hudlin is an American film writer, director, and producer. Along with his older brother, Warrington Hudlin, he is known as one of the Hudlin brothers. He is known for House Party and Django Unchained.
Okay. Wow.
Here's his filmography. He directed and wrote House Party. He directed Reggie's World of Soul. He directed Boomerang.
Okay.
So he's done a lot of black stuff.
Yeah, that's a lot of.
He was the executive producer for Bebe's Kids. You ever watch Bebe's Kids?
I wish Jason Teasley was on here right now. He would. What was it he always said? It was they. There's a phrase that he used. Yes, thank you.
They don't die, they multiply. Baby's Kids. I saw that in the theaters. What do you call it?
Dude, Ronnie Adams checking in with us.
He directed You ever see The Great White Hype?
I've heard of that. I had the soundtrack to that. I did not watch the movie.
Go watch the movie. It's awesome. He directed it. Django Unchained. He was the producer. He's the executive producer of Blazing Samurai, and he's the director of the forthcoming Shadow Man. He's done a bunch of TV specials, a bunch of TV series. Most recent TV series that he worked on.
Just a heads up. I believe Shadow Man's actually a comic based off of a comic book, Valiant comic book.
Oh, we'll have to cover that. He directed 2 episodes of Psych. He directed 3 episodes of Are We There Yet? He directed an episode of Bones. He directed 3 episodes of Murder in the First, 1 episode of New Girl, 2 episodes of Uncle Buck. And he was the executive producer of something called Blue and Green. He's actually won some awards.
Ronnie Adams has joined us of the Screaming Boy podcast, of the Sleeping Boy podcast.
When did that turn into Papa? That's
Ronnie Adams.
So here we go. Black Panther 1 through 6. Who is the Black Panther? Wakanda, for centuries, a peaceful African nation far advanced compared to others of the world. Unfortunately, the nation of Wakanda has had a target on its back for quite some time, as it is also home of the ultra-rare metal vibranium. Coveting Wakanda's resources, many nations throughout history have tried to invade and failed. The Wakandans are led by a king carrying the name of the Black Panther. But who is the Black Panther? Our most recent king goes by the name of T'Challa, an intelligent, spry Wakandan who bested his uncle to take over the throne and also bears the mask of Black Panther as well. Now, the king and protector of a nation, the Black Panther must deal with threats of the criminal and political from outside of his realm. Recently, the United States has become concerned that the new regime change may also mark a change in the policies of the Wakandan nation and has sparked unfounded fears of a technologically superior army that may become an invading force. Not to mention a supervillain from T'Challa's past by the name of Klaw, which, if you guys aren't familiar with who Klaw is, I've seen him really the one time that I can remember seeing Klaw. And I should say the first time I remember ever seeing Klaw was actually the Avengers video game. Ronnie Adams, you ever play that?
Yes.
The four player Avengers arcade cabinet.
Is that the one where it's just like, why should it go well and all that shit?
It's been a while since I played it, dude. I cannot remember.
Huh.
It's been a while.
I remember playing. I feel like I remember playing that game, and and you would hear the characters talk, and like one of the lines was like, we're gonna get you. It's like, why would it go well? And it's like, this is the dorkiest thing I've ever heard.
Here's what's going to happen. Post edit. I'm definitely finding an audio clip of the game, and putting it in here because I want to know.
I'm on it.
The Avengers. Captain America.
Avengers 90s video game. Got it.
It was, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I remember Klaw was either the first level boss or the second level boss, or maybe have been because I remember the Reaper as well was one of the villains, and you might have. He ends up showing up either at the first or second level, or it might have been the Klaw and the Reaper attacking at the same time. But anyway, Klaw was definitely different from what we see in this iteration here in 2005, in this 2005 series. The Klaw from the video game was like this, almost looked kind of like an android. Wasn't he like human sound or something? See, I did not do any research on who he was, but I remember he loses his arm. He's got like this, I almost want to say it's a hand that's like this shoots sound out of it. And now here's the thing again, I'm getting all these memories from comics that I've read. Was Klaw in Secret Wars as well, Ronnie, and Secret Wars 1 through 12, like from the 80s?
Yes.
Because I'm starting to think he was part of the villains that went up to Battle World.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay,
I remember, yeah.
So this iteration of Klaw though looks very human. He still has this like crazy arm, but it can be manipulated into way like different shapes and to do different things.
I always remembered him just, what was it, manipulating sound with it?
Yeah, it was like it would almost look like a damn satellite dish on his hand instead of a hand. It was like a satellite dish that he pointed in it and whatever. So
his big evil move is picking up illegal cable.
Yeah. Dreaded by many. Enemy of the Avengers.
That's it. I found it. Okay. So you're absolutely right. He's fighting the living laser and Klaw. Let me go back a second. So this masterful dialogue goes like this.
Oh boy.
Right? Okay, hang on. Captain America's approaching the bank, and here comes the broken wall, and there's Whirlwind. He's got a bag full of money, and I know that because it's got a dollar sign on it. And it says, "Don't disturb us." And Captain America says, "Why should it go well?"
Wait a second.
Huh.
What kind of... That doesn't make a damn bit of sense. Why should it go well?
Well, the bad guys are robbing a bank, and he was like, "Why should that go well?" Makes perfect sense.
No, it makes no sense. There's no way you're going to say
Mark,
that.
You're not arguing through this.
No, it makes
Mark,
perfect.
no.
No, don't tell me no.
Mark.
Why should it go well?
Why wouldn't you say like just stop right there?
Mark,
or
why should anyone talk like that?
There's okay. We're getting
because it's a '90s Avengers game.
Oh, Mark Radlich sent the video. I cannot wait to view this.
Can we review the video on here instead of the comic book?
33 minutes. Is it full playthrough? It can't. It might be.
It's full playthrough.
Oh wow! Captain America: Data East. When did this come out? 91. Oh, dude. I honest to goodness would love to see her watch this and comment on it.
We might need to do a special bonus
commentary episode on the arcade.
Now, see, a commentary episode.
When I was a kid, I mean, going to the arcade was a fun thing, but I was stingy with my quarters. I wanted to get around the arcade with as many quarters as I had, so I didn't keep pumping them into a game. So I can probably remember the first level clear as a bell, but as soon as you get past like the second level or something, I'm just like, well, okay, that's probably the point in which I was like, oh, hey, look over there. There's Dragon's Lair. Time to go to Dragon's Lair.
And you didn't, because you didn't want to waste your quarters on it.
Dude, they would eat right through it. And the 4-player cabinet was at the 7-Eleven by my grandma's. And I would go down there to the 7-Eleven. Comics were right behind me on the rack. And so I just kind of browse through the comics, turn around, play some games. Also play Time Killers. But anyway, okay, I'm done talking about that. It's a video game tangent.
I just want to say that you said you didn't want to waste your quarters, yet you played Dragon's Lair.
Dude, you could kind of get good at that. Or
no one was good at Dragon's Lair.
If you knew
you really had, like, the game had to be like super tight, and you had to have like the fucking impulses of a ninja.
All right.
So no one was good at Dragon's Lair. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
I certainly will not argue. This supervillain from Chala's past by the name of Klaw has also put in place a plan to get revenge against Chala's family. Why would the Klaw want to do this? Klaw's great-great-great-grandfather was one of those that died in a failed invasion of the Wakandan nation. His last sight before the minigun backfiring and exploding in his face was the Black Panther of that era.
Can I just interject something?
Yeah.
The language that is used in that whole sequence.
That's a sign of the times, dude. They were trying to get. Now here's the thing.
Yes, most famously seen in Birth of a Nation.
Oh Lord.
Well,
now there's no, just to tell the if you've not read this, there's no cursing in it. It's just a lot of racial slurs.
Ronnie, I know you were a little late to the party, but we were talking about the writer here, and I don't know if you've ever heard of Reginald Hudlin, but he has actually written a lot. He's an African American himself, and he's wrote a lot of he wrote this whole run of Black Panther, we found out, and he wrote a bunch of film that's centered around like Great White Hype, which House Party.
Really, of all the stuff that I read, that's the one you came up with.
Django Unchained. How's that?
There you go.
Oh, he wrote Django?
It was produced by Reginald Hudlin. It was written by Quentin Tarantino.
Okay.
Boom.
So
I know my Tarantino.
So he is that, even though the language is being used here, clearly he is using it to represent, what was being said at the time of these people. Yeah.
It's just something I've never really seen in a comic before.
Yeah, a Marvel comic book at that. It's something we're not used to, which, okay. So with the death of his grandfather, that's on the back of Klaw's mind as well. This led to Klaw becoming part of an assassination attempt to kill the King of Wakanda. Trying to kill the whole Black Panther lineage at that time as well, Klaw was somewhat successful as it resulted in him killing Chala's father, but it also left Klaw scarred and without a right arm. Now he has a new plan that involves the likes of the Rhino, Radioactive Man, Cannibal, the Black Knight, and other enemies of the Wakandan nation. The Black Panther must now strive to save his family from being killed, while at the same time inspire the warriors of his nation to stop a potentially invading U.S. cyborg force. So there you go. That is, in a nutshell, what happens in the 6 issues that we read tonight. So I threw out a bunch of talking points, and I guess the first thing we'll throw out there and talk about was, you read all 6 issues. Was there anything in here you learned about Chala the Black Panther?
I'm noticing that you're calling him Chala.
T silent. The T, I believe, is silent, sir.
Wasn't in the movies.
And here's the thing. It wasn't?
No.
Okay.
That's what's confusing me right now.
Okay. Well, then I could be completely off. I seriously remember a big discussion on a podcast centering around the history of the Black Panther as to how to pronounce his name. And what I went with, if I remember correctly, I probably should have referenced. What did they call him in the movie? Was it T'Challa?
Yeah.
So it wasn't Tala. It wasn't like the CH was silent or anything. So it was like they pronounced all the consonants and syllables that were there. Syllables, vowels, consonants and vowels. Okay. All right. Well, I will to make it easier for Ronnie, I will call him T'Challa from here on out.
Well, I mean, let's figure this out.
No, I do not want to sit here and try and
completely ignore this. Because it's probably been highly debated for a long time of how to pronounce it, because Marvel likes their crazy names and or they're repeating letters, like Peter Parker, Reed Richards.
Yeah.
All that. But
Bruce Banner.
I'm not going to name them all because that would be every character ever that they've done. J. Jonah Jameson. Speaking of derailing the podcast, I do apologize, because I think I've done that.
Well, that's okay. I want to know the answer, because honestly, dude, the listeners of this podcast would probably like to know a definitive answer as to how to pronounce it.
You deserve the truth.
So, you know what? If there's anything we learned from the Black Panther,
I'm going to Google it. How do you pronounce? It's T'Challa.
Okay, you're absolutely certain.
Yeah.
All right. And can you reference? Can you give us a source, sir?
Yes, comicvine.gamespot.com, forums. How do you pronounce his name?
All right. The answer is we're going with T'Challa. Mark says, Comic Vine says T'Challa. I'm not going to argue that. T'Challa it is. Ronnie Adams, there's the first answer to our first talking point. Now, what did you learn about the Black Panther out of this series?
I was never really familiar with the Black Panther, like his origins, his background, and stuff like that. So it was really cool to see that, like, the title has been passed down for ages, and it was more of a spiritual, I guess, religious thing than it was anything else. So I'm very, my knowledge of Black Panther is limited, to say the least.
Yeah,
it was. So it was really cool to be able to see his background in this. So I learned a lot more about Black Panther than I used to know.
Mark, did you know that it was a title that was passed down amongst many prior to reading this?
No, I'll be honest, without making any further jokes.
Try your best.
Why should it go well?
But why? I was getting ready to say that.
To me, he was. I mean, it was one of these characters who I think they created in the 60s or 70s or whatever, and it was fine. It worked fine for the comic books, and then they realized it was a silly character, and they had to kind of reinvent him a bunch of different ways. But like to me, like the outfit was basically just a guy in a black leotard and a kitty mask. And then suddenly his suit's made out of vibranium and all this other crap. So I went into this sort of like, okay, I don't know anything about this character other than he's black and he's from Africa and he rules over a mythical, highly technologically advanced country. And I'll just kind of accept the rest of whatever I learn here as read and just move on from there. I really liked the beginning of this. I liked the origin of Wakanda. It had always been sort of ahead of everybody else. And to me, the most unbelievable thing about Wakanda is that it's like China in the sense that there's no contact with the outside world. It's completely insulated, and it's despite the fact that goes against the trend of societies, it becomes highly technologically advanced to the point where it becomes like the envy of the rest of the world. Again, China is somewhat similar to that story. That while it's had some contact with the East, with the other East Asian countries, Japan being one of the big ones. China developed pretty much independently of the rest of the world, and it had advances that that the West is still trying to figure out, like acupuncture being an example. So I like that aspect of Wakanda and the whole origin of the Black Panther.
Yeah, do you actually think that there's any way that something like this could actually be out there in the world right now? There's no way, right? I mean, we've discovered everything that we could discover. There's no technologically superior nation that we are unaware of, right, Ronnie?
Yeah, the age of exploration pretty much wiped out any chance that there's a third world.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mark. I'm being silly.
There's no possible way there's any third world aspect of the world left that's been untouched by white man's hands. It's just not possible.
I'd say it is possible.
The world's not that big. You're wrong. The world's not that big.
Wow, you're a jerk. Do you know?
Yeah.
And do you know?
You've been to everywhere in the world?
Yes.
Oh, well.
You've been
Dang.
fed lies, Mark Radulich. Lies, I tell you. You only know what we've shown you, sir. You
This
have
is
no
not the-
idea about. Go ahead.
This is not the Matrix.
Yeah, maybe somewhere that we've never, there are still lands that we haven't discovered or been to that are completely closed off to the world.
Maybe underneath the
small,
ocean.
small
Like at
nations.
the
And so,
I was gonna no. Anything above ground's been discovered from on this planet, but I mean, who knows? There are depths of the oceans that we haven't been to because of the pressure. Maybe you might discover something, but
All right, let's talk about the characters in this story. Mark, have you ever read anything with Klaw in it?
probably some Avengers tale back in the day.
West Coast, probably. I know you said you liked the West Coast Avengers, didn't you?
I did. I read the entire run of the West Coast Avengers.
Okay, so this character that they bring here that they're calling Klaw, who I assume is the actual Klaw, but is this the guy that you remember at all or have ever seen before?
The way he's drawn here is a little bit more realistic looking. The version of Klaw. This is why I remember, like when he was in Age of Ultron, and it's Andy Serkis. I was like, they really modernized him because the version of Klaw that I remember from like the Secret Wars and everything was the guy in the red jumpsuit with the android face.
yeah.
Yep.
Other than him being, a random bad guy number 2 on a team that I don't remember anything about the Klaw, reading anything about with him as a main character.
I think I've always known that he was one of like the major like arch enemies of the Black Panther. I thought he worked well as that enemy.
I thought it worked out very well.
Yeah, there was some assumptions that I think the writer made that I wasn't aware too much of the continuity or, the history between these two. Mm-hmm. So I have no idea if they've come together in the past and fought each other or if... I mean, just from what I saw in the movie, you would think, okay, well, he's been involved. Klaw's been involved in the nation of Wakanda or doing something against Wakanda for quite a while. I didn't know much about his history at all, but I think it kind of gave him some purpose. He meets his end, at least we assume, at the end of this book by the hands of the Black Panther. Guess what, Mark Radulich? The Klaw died. Can you guess what? Can you guess what happened?
It didn't go well.
It didn't go well. I set him up for it and everything.
I don't know. Mark, are you there?
Mark,
I'm here.
Okay. You should have jumped all over that one.
I'm not your monkey.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not going to just dance for you because you played a little jingle jangle on your
Listen,
box.
you're going to get your cymbals and we're going to wind you up and watch you clap.
Jingle jangle. Ronnie Adams, tell me about the Black Knight. You know much about him at all?
I knew him as a member of the Avengers.
Same here.
I didn't know him as a religious wackadoodle who went around killing people.
I'm gonna hop on. I'm just gonna hop on the wiki here and check this out.
In defense of the Black Knight, the setup of this whole comic is that we live in a world where unknown threats need to be known, quantifiable entities. And the United States was in a position where they didn't know if Wakanda was going to be an ally of the United States or an enemy. And the Black Knight was part of it, was a hero of Britain who was an ally of the United States. This was a mission to see, if Wakanda was going to play ball with the United States or not. And he was just doing essentially his civic duty. As far as being portrayed as religious, I mean, that's to me, it was neither here nor there here. This was more about the Black Knights just playing on the team that he's playing on, which happened to be in opposition to Wakanda. Not that he was a bad guy in this. So yeah, I didn't get the sense that the Black Knight was a villain necessarily.
I want to ask a question because I've read this twice and I didn't pick up on it the second time. Granted, I browsed through it, but was Klaws and that whole team, was that sponsored by the United States or was that a plan that Klaw put into place to try and get at his family?
I was under the impression it was a team. It was like a Black Ops team sent in by the United States, kind of like a Suicide Squad.
But they also sent in the cyborg zombie guys at the end. Ronnie, correct me if I'm wrong, and if it's fresh in your memory, great. If not, don't worry about it. But I thought it was like the Black Knight, or not the Black Knight, excuse me, the Klaw and his team, Rhino and all them, were kind of working on their own to get in there just at the same time that the United States was trying to do that. But maybe I misread it, or maybe it was
That's
just...
what I gleaned from it, too.
Maybe, and it could very well have been Do you have the physical copy in front of you, Mark Radlich?
And the fiscal.
And the fiscal copy.
Huh.
Well, I'm not going to ask you to search through it because I remember specifically Klaw was talking to some guy in a cell, explaining to him what was going on near at the beginning, just telling him kind of like the history of Wakanda. And I don't even know if I can remember who that guy was. That's kind of how this whole series is. I just to kind of put it bluntly and give you like my summarization and my thoughts on the whole thing itself. We'll come back around to that here at the end, but some of it was easy to follow, and some of it I got a little bit bogged down amongst the too many word balloons, too much of that going on. Yeah, who was working for who? I didn't understand that.
Okay, I was in the impression they were a black ops team sent in by the United States.
Okay, and you probably read it a lot closer than I did. I mean, I'd made it through the 6 issues. I just don't recall that for some reason. I was trying to figure out a way to tie the two together. I was like, okay, well, because the United States was like, okay, we're gonna send the zombie team in on the borders. Maybe they did that to get him in there, and then of course Klaw, took it upon himself. It's time to get revenge as well. I don't know, but either way, it was money enough for me to come out of here going, okay, I don't know the specific motivations behind the two, other than it was just Klaw wanting to get revenge and the United States trying to further their political.
I'm going to read this to you. This is, I think, issue 2.
Awesome.
So what we've got here is a highly militaristic culture with no ties to the United States. They're a rogue state. All right. Before you go adding them to the axis of evil, I should point out that they have never invaded anyone. The only time they've taken hostile action is defending their own borders. But a regime change could bring about a change in that policy. Look, I don't want to jump the gun here, but it's standard operating procedure to have a military option in place for any potential threat to the United States. I certainly don't want to speak in the place of the recently departed general, but with our military forces stretched all over the Middle East, do we even have the resources? You're right, Mr. Ross. That is not your area of expertise. You just keep providing accurate information. Besides, this conflict would not be appropriate for conventional forces. This is a job for special forces, very special forces. And the next panel is Klaw and the other guy who ends up taking over the prostitute's body.
Okay.
Which was weird.
Oh, yeah. That was a strange one.
Because she probably has like the Hep C, right?
She gets the Hep everything.
It gets a little weird with the cannibal, and I think that was definitely a long play that was going past these 6 issues, because the cannibal's whole arc, which, ladies and gentlemen, here's what the cannibal does. The cannibal is pretty much just this force that resides in your body, and then through physical contact or a kiss, I think in some way, fiscal monetary exchange occurs. And then the next thing you know, you're taken over by the cannibal. Go ahead.
You're toast.
Hey man, let me hold $1. Oh, I got you.
You're a lightly buttered toast.
So yes, that's what's weird about the cannibal. But anyway, it was like the cannibal was helping out the Klaw. And then the next thing you know, the cannibal's on a plane with one of the representatives of Wakanda, which maybe, like I said, again, I think that's the long game here that goes past issue 6, because she ends up taking over the body of one of the Wakandan representatives. And then that's kind of where we leave that at the end of the issue. But anyway, okay. So, Mark, you just pretty much confirmed that they were working for the United States, right?
That is my belief, yes.
Okay. All right. So there we go. Let me take a look here. What I had next. Yeah, the Black Knight. Let me just give a real quick wiki description here. Did I lose it? I don't think I did. Dane Whitman.
Yeah.
Yeah, normally known as a hero, he was, let's see, affiliation, Euroforce, MI13, Avengers, Masters of Evil as a mole, Excalibur. That's the one I remember him from mostly, is Excalibur. Heroes for Hire, Ultra Force. Yeah, that's Malibu's Ultra Force, by the way. Defenders, Knights of Wundagore, King Richard's Army, New Avalon. Yeah, he's been mostly known as a hero here. So a guy that was kind of duped into helping these guys invade Wakanda. Mark, did you?
Was he duped? I mean, again, I think he was just doing his duty. I think this is just a somewhat more complex tale than good guys versus bad guys. I kind of think that's been Marvel's MO over the last few years. I think he felt like he was doing a job, and that the world is not as black and white as, Superman,
like
versus
doing a paycheck. Are you saying there's a paycheck involved when you say job, or are you talking about like?
Yeah, no, okay. Absolutely.
Okay. Wasn't there mention in there in the book about how he talked about bringing religion to the savages, which kind of felt like
he was a religious wackadoodle?
Yeah, I mean, it did kind of feel like that. I mean, he has his beliefs. Maybe he has.
Well,
his
isn't that what people who missionaries do? They bring
not with a
religion
giant sword. I mean, I'm sure they did in the past, but
as part of
realize that modern missionaries do not attack people with swords.
Okay.
Have you heard the good word? Shing.
Let me introduce you to my singing sword. Ah!
Right.
I wonder if you have a few moments to talk about your shring. But yeah, it seemed like he was. I mean, there was. I don't know. I didn't get the.
I don't know about you guys, but the
the ones who go door to door are Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons.
It would be the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Church of Latter-day Saints.
It would be the Jehovah's Witnesses that I'm trying to make a joke out of. But the Jehovah's Witnesses in my neighborhood.
Guess what, Mark? That did not go well.
Wah, wah, wah.
Would have a Bible in one hand and a sword in the other. It's true. That's how my dad let him in the first time.
Oh, you must be awful
Thanksgiving
tired.
I'll never forget.
Carrying that sword around.
As a whole, I found it a little confusing at times. It was a good read. It really was. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the art, of course.
On a scale of confusing, with wacky Raceland at the top, and
and it did not go well in the middle.
and Tarzan on the Planet of the Apes at the bottom. Where would you rank this?
Why should it go well?
I rank this. Stop stealing my jokes. Okay, both of those sucked. So this did not suck.
Yeah, I was going to say this wasn't horrible. This wasn't something where I was like, ugh.
I enjoyed the background on the history of Wakanda and the history of the Black Panther as a title, as the defender of his nation. And, the Black Panther is the King of Wakanda. It was really interesting.
What did you think of? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just. It's interesting to see that it's a title that's interchangeable between the royal family. You just fought to get it.
That was the thing I was going to bring up. The one aspect of Wakanda that we didn't talk about was how do you ascend to leadership? Essentially, like someone challenges you to a fist fight, and if you lose, then that person becomes new leader of the country. It's like like the guy that just won our presidential election was a cartoon character, and if we had and if we went by these rules, John Jones, the former light heavyweight champion and cocaine addict, would have become the president of the United States. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's an interesting idea. I don't know. Did you?
Well, you say the presidential election. Ours is done by vote, and you can get into the whole debate, but that's based on some kind of political platform. People, go up, they tell you what they believe in, and the people choose who to vote for. This one, Cousin Derp could just get off a lucky left hook and win complete control of the country.
Did you call him Cousin Derp?
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on.
so Bofo with the protruding forehead,
right? They'd be like, well, it's you got to let him fight, otherwise he's going to cry.
JoJo the monkey boy challenges you for president.
Hug him and love him and call him George, and squeeze the guy in a bear hug, and he has no other choice but to give up because he's going to die. He could be king of a whole country, and then you're kind of screwed. It doesn't make sense to us, but of course, it's a comic book. But in the long run, that's how they chose their king.
Why does comic books make sense?
I'm trying to make sense of comic books, and why should it go well? But you saw where T'Challa's little sister was going to
she was going to jump
in the ring. Yeah, she wanted to rule Wakanda. It was interesting seeing that whole thing come to light. It got a little muddy. It got a little confusing for me, but I was still able to keep with the basic storyline of the kind of introducing who Black Panther was and or is, I should say. So I enjoyed it. It was just parts of it I hate to admit, but I kind of skimmed over because it was like I'm not really into this part. So a little wordy at times.
Yeah, man, it did. It got a little wordy. I mean, there were some great parts where you let John Romita Jr. and Klaus Janson take over and tell the story, especially, during the fight scene, which was great. And I was hoping like the rest of the book might have some shades that it's peppered in there, but it's, Reginald unfortunately can take it to a wordy level.
Yeah. Now, I have a question for you all. Did anybody else's, not really. I mean, but I felt it come up a little bit, but did anybody else's feathers get a little ruffled when it said he beat Captain America? And I was like, I don't remember that.
Oh, no, I think, what's funny is before reading this series, there was something either popped up on my Facebook feed or it popped up just because it was asked, like, because I was doing some research or something. But one of the questions was, could the Black Panther beat Captain America? I was like,
Are you guys
why is this a discussion? And
are you guys saying that Black Panther can't beat Captain America because it's black?
I knew you were going to say that.
Negative. I didn't have an issue with it. I think that was. I mean,
all your friends are black.
Yeah, that's exactly why. As a matter of fact, I certainly would not.
Mark.
No,
Mark.
It's a good way. I think it's a great way of putting over Black Panther.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It
didn't ruffle my feathers at all. How's that?
No,
there's my answer.
It didn't. The only reason it is because I'm a huge Captain America fan. And he's supposed to be like the fighter of the Marvel universe. I'm like, I don't remember that ever happening. Did you make that up for the storyline? That's what I was getting.
I got you.
Was this made up for just for this story, or I don't remember that in canon?
This is this is an advanced nation. I think that, Captain America showed up and he wasn't trying to invade or anything. I think when
he was hunting Nazis.
Yeah, he was going after Nazis that were already killed.
Okay, in one of the earliest episodes of the Black Panther saga, Captain America was served a generous helping of humble pie when he went to Wakanda, the only source of vibranium in the world, which is the material Captain America's shield is made of. Acting very American, he was sent back to America after he regained his consciousness.
Oh, nice. What was that from? Was that from this book?
This is from Quora.com, who would win in a fight between Black Panther and Captain America.
Very nice. All right, so Mark, go ahead and give us your final thoughts here on this book, and then we will turn over to Ronnie and we'll get out of here.
Look, I didn't find this as confusing as you guys. I thought it was a fairly straightforward story. It's essentially this group of villains tries to invade Wakanda. They get pretty close to doing it. This actually kind of reminded me of the Inhuman story. It's a very similar thing where, everyone's sort of looking to the leader to do something, and then finally at the end he does. But it's like at the ta-da nick of time, and along the way, there's some losses, some stuff happens, things look pretty bleak, and at the end of the day, Black Panther sort of turns it around. I'm not sure if there's a tremendous arc with him as a character. I don't know if he learns anything, if he's better off at the end of the story that he was at the beginning. But, overall, if you don't know who the Black Panther character is, and this is kind of why I picked this book, and you're going into this movie and really all you know about him is what you saw in the Civil War movie, I thought it was a good primer. It was a pretty simple story, gives you a little history of the country itself, tells you a little bit about where the Black Panther came from, and puts him in a situation where you get to see him be the star, of his own series, and take on some familiar villains. I thought it was fun to see some of the villains that were in it. I mean, Rhino is somebody you typically see in Spider-Man, and how many times can you see this little jack-off kid crack wise and shoot webs at him? It was nice to see the Rhino actually attacking a rhino in Africa. Which I thought was pretty funny.
Cool.
That was pretty cool.
The Black Knight again was, like a D-level Avengers character. So it was fun to see him kind of, be the star of a book. Of all the things that we read and, that deal with the same like dozen or so characters, these were, like I said, the C and D list. And it was fun to see them in their own story.
To jump off just real quick with the
Mark,
Black Knight.
Are you saying that Black Knight, or not Black Knight, but Black Panther is a C and D level character because he's black?
Yeah. He's clearly a minority. He's definitely C and D level.
Oh my gosh.
Don't back me to corner, motherfucker.
Tried to turn the tables.
I tried, but he's like, "No, I'll own this. Come on."
Yeah, no. I will absolutely come out swinging every time. I'm not.
Why
afraid.
should it?
Why should it go well?
Why
for you,
should
Ronnie
it go
Adams?
well?
Why should it?
Oh Lord!
The jump off.
Mindy, put it on a t-shirt. The Source Material Podcast.
Why should
the Source Material Podcast? Why should it goes well?
So I wanted to talk about the Black Knight. One thing I wanted to throw in there real quick. It almost seemed like Dude's purpose was to drop that sword so T'Challa's sister could kill Radioactive Man. Like that's the only purpose. He drops the sword, it falls into a cave. She picks it up when she's about to get killed by Radioactive Man, and she slices him in half. Which we saw 2 deaths. Radioactive Man's a pretty big villain. I say big. I mean, he's been
nobody dies in the Marvel universe except Uncle Ben.
Yeah. The Klaw takes a freaking spear through his chest, and Radioactive Man gets sliced in half, which I've heard of both of those characters. It was kind of surprising to see both of them kind of meet their quote unquote fate here in this book. But okay, Ronnie, what's your final thoughts, man?
Good book. It was written well. Just like I said, just a little confusing at times. Other than that, I enjoyed it. It's cool to see, the origin story of the Black Panther. Did a little more research on him after this because I wanted to know a little more about him. Found out he's like one of the richest, wealthiest, I should say, characters in the Marvel universe, even wealthier than Tony Stark, actually, because of the vibranium.
Yep.
Very intelligent man. Gives Reed Richards, Tony Stark, and doggone giant man, what's his name, Hank Pym, run for their money.
So help me God, I almost said Adam Ant.
Huh. That is not where I was going with that.
All right. Well, last question, and we'll get into plugs. Okay. We have the luxury right now to talk about this book, and we're recording this shortly before the release of Black Panther later this week. So, Mark, we'll start with you. You're the movie guy here. Well, Ronnie Adams, you are too.
That's right, I am.
You both have your...
Back off, Radulage.
You guys both have talked movies for quite a while. Black Panther.
My show's better.
Okay. All right. Put it away, gentlemen.
I have nothing out.
Okay.
That I have to put away.
Okay.
That's all Mark.
That's good. That's real good. What do you think of the movie? I mean, what are your expectations here, Mark? Are you surprised that, because it's got one hell of a reception and it ain't even been released?
It's this year's Wonder Woman.
Okay.
I mean, what I mean by that is, look, the movie itself, not to be the Robert Winfrey of this podcast, but let's face some facts here. This movie would have to be so incredibly negative for reviewers. And I'm not saying it's not going to be a genuinely good movie. It probably is. I'm sure Marvel generally doesn't put out bad movies. I think, this was shot around the same time as Thor, so it may or may not adopt the new Marvel motif of crack a joke every 3 minutes. But like I said, the fact that we have a very positive black superhero in 2018, the tendency for professional reviewers is to like it before they ever saw it, and to be kind to it regardless of what they see. My expectations are, I'm sure it'll be good. How good, I don't know. Wonder Woman had its problems too. Wonder Woman was sort of lauded as this triumph for women, which it wasn't. And people got ridiculous. People were as ridiculous with Wonder Woman as they were with the Ghostbusters reboot, both positively and negatively, in virtue of what those movies were. And I think people are going to be overly positive about this movie too. I think when it's all said and done, it'll be fine. It'll be a fun, entertaining movie that I can take my kids to. I think it'll be a nice representation of Black and the African culture. But as far as it being like a triumph for Black people, I think it's just going to be a movie. I think it'll be just a movie.
It has, I'm just on variety.com right now, an article that was written today or posted today anyway. Black Panther should break the President's Day weekend record of 152 million set in 2016 by Deadpool. Okay. It will easily top the second highest debut for the 4-day holiday set in 2015 when 50 Shades of Grey opened with $93 million.
If you're looking for a movie that speaks to the black culture and is a triumph for the black cultural experience, go watch Luke Cage. That did it better. That's the best that I've seen in the superhero genre.
You haven't seen this movie yet, though.
No, it's better.
Okay. All right.
Luke Cage came out in the middle of, the perceived crisis of cops shooting black kids on corners wearing hoodies. And in the midst of all that was a bulletproof black guy with a hoodie. Mm-hmm. Okay. That spoke to the culture. The mythical king of make-believe country with make-believe fucking alloys is not speaking to the black cultural experience, no matter what African garb they're wearing.
I am looking for a good superhero movie. I'm not looking for something to speak to cultures as a whole, and I don't look for that anytime I look for a movie. I look for this because movies are an escape from reality, as they should be from anybody. I look for a good character, a good story, something I can cheer, somebody I can cheer on, somebody I can get excited about. If he is African American, even that's even better. But that's just part of the story and a part of who he is. That's not what I go for. That's not what I'm looking for solely. Of somebody. I didn't watch Rocky because I'm of Italian lineage. I watched it because it was a good underdog story of somebody finding their way through their craft.
And it won the Cold War.
Yeah, Rocky won the Cold War against those
Rocky
villainous
1
Russians.
Or Rocky 4 or Rocky 3? I'm confused.
Rocky 4, you fucking anti-American person, you.
We've had this discussion.
The Russians are always the villains in any 80s movie. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's not me. I didn't write these movies. Jeez. I want you to go back and watch Ruskies.
By the way, the word I was looking for last week was Bolsheviks.
Oh, the revolutionaries?
Yes.
I got you. All right.
I was so mad at myself when I was listening to that today, and I'm just like, you idiot. The word was Bolsheviks. God damn it. You were a tag team, for Christ's sake.
Wow. But that's what I'm looking
wrestling reference.
Well, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a good movie, and I think I'm going to get that because Marvel doesn't put out crap.
Yeah, Pat.
I'm really surprised,
Pat,
to be honest.
I think the world of you, buddy. I think you're a great guy, but I think you're too rough on these movies.
Take it easy. Take it easy.
Chill. Have a drink. Go to see a movie.
I'm going into this thing again. These are comic book characters that I don't know a whole lot about. So it really blows my mind that there's this much hype for this movie already. Dude, it really does.
There are black actors buying out entire theaters so that they can make sure that some black kid who doesn't have the money to go see it can see this movie. I mean, when you say like, oh, it's projected to be, to have this huge opening. Okay, there's a couple of reasons. One, much like, like wrestling or anything else, when you have years and years and years of good publicity and successful movies, yeah, when the new one comes out, it's gonna do well. You would have to have a couple of misses like DC, to where you have a situation where films don't do well, and Justice League becomes the 15th highest grossing movie of the year. That's so fucking embarrassing. I don't even want to talk about it.
It is.
But it took time for them to get there, just as it took time. Look, if they're talking about like it's projected to have this huge opening, that's after a string of successes. And let's remember, the next one that comes out, which is Avengers: Infinity War, is going to blow Black Panther out of the water. That's probably going to do Star Wars numbers. Yeah, considering Civil War and Age of Ultron both made over $1 billion. Number one. Number two, like I said. Like the difference between like a Black Panther and a Doctor Strange, right? What is Doctor Strange? Doctor Strange is an old white guy in a cape, looks like fucking Liberace, right? So so that speaks to comic book fans and people who like Marvel movies, but that's not reaching like a cultural zeitgeist or anything. This does. It doesn't matter what this character is or does or can do. All that matters is his name is Black Panther. There's a reason why the CW, of all the characters they chose to make another series out of, went with Black Lightning.
What I was saying earlier is what I look for. I'm not saying that this doesn't, it shouldn't, or it doesn't, or why does it? I'm glad it does, because it could reach some kid that never really thought about comic books before. He could be the next great comic book artist or writer because that gets him involved in it or
Inspired.
or anything.
Yeah.
It could inspire these kids to be doctors, lawyers, military personnel, or whatever. That open up a boys and girls club. I don't care. That's awesome, and I think that's fantastic. But when I go to a movie, that's not what I look for. I just look for an escape. Now, are there movies that have inspired me? Absolutely. But that's not what I went for. I just went to watch a movie.
I don't think I've seen any of the previews, trailers, whatnot for this movie. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. I think I may have seen one trailer. Do we have any idea who the main villain is going into this?
It's Klaw and Eric Killmonger.
Yep.
Okay. So Killmonger is going to be part of it. Again, this is a property of Marvel that I never thought would ever. Dude, as a kid, if we were talking movies and you told me, yeah, Avengers is going to be a great movie in 15 years, 20 years, I'd be like, okay, yeah, that sounds great. As a kid, if you would have came to me and said that Black Panther was going to be a movie in that many years, it probably would have blown my mind because I wouldn't have understood that character could gain that much popularity to become that big of a property to make it to the screen.
In that case, Ant-Man.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, like, guys realize they're now having to. If you look at like what Marvel's done just in the last couple of years, once it got through the Avengers proper, without having X-Men or Spider-Man to draw on originally, like they had to start digging deep really quick into like their C and D level characters. As it is, the Avengers was made up of like A and B was made up of one or two A characters and all B characters. And then, you'd get like your C and D in there, depending on which iteration of the Avengers you were talking about. So when they started getting into like phase 3 and now, the upcoming phase 4, it's like, well, fuck, who haven't we made a movie about that we have rights to? Like, but at this point, like I said, whatever Marvel puts out, they have an automatic fandom that's going to come see them because unlike DC, they haven't fucked their movies yet. I don't want people to think that I'm against this movie or look, I'm perfectly fine with the idea of a Black Panther movie. When it was announced, I was like, okay, that's fun, that's cool. I'm glad they're digging into like their D level characters and all, and giving them their own opportunity to shine. And again, because of the way that Marvel operates and the way they make their movies, generally speaking, these are pretty well directed, well acted features. It's like with any other of my podcasts, I just call it as I see it. It is what it is, and but it's not a cultural phenomenon. It's just not, and I think. The urge to call it that is the thing that I'm making fun of and yelling about, not the fact that the movie was made itself. And like I said, I'm gonna see it twice in one weekend. Believe me, I'm not against this movie. I'm really not against like people buying out entire shows for little kids to go see it. I'm like, if that's what you want to do with your money and your time, and that's something you believe in, believe me, I would prefer that than dressing up like a vagina and like, standing out on the fucking lawn of the White House, of all things. If you're making sort of a political statement.
I worry about the plot of this movie because, again, I don't.
What Mark just said.
I don't know much about what exactly is going to go on in it, but I'll tell you right now, if it's something like this book, I don't know if it's going to be that captivating to where I'm going to be like, holy shit, did you see the new Black Panther? Because look,
how's that go again?
It's politics, which bores the shit out of me. Okay, I'm not going to have that much fun watching a kingdom have to deal with the fact that
Have you not seen the trailer?
I've not seen the trailer.
It's not politics. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a huge fucking car chase right in the middle of this thing.
Why? Because is it because of somebody got some vibranium and they're taking off with it or something? I bet you that's the whole plot, right? Somebody's got some vibranium. They're going to make a bomb or a weapon out of it.
I don't know, Starcher. Let's find out and watch the movie.
Eric Killmonger steals the Black Panther's hubcaps and takes off with them.
Then my vibrating hubcap. Get back here with them.
And thus a car chase ensues.
One of the characters found out the other one voted for Trump, and he's chasing him down.
Oh man.
Go see the movie.
Yeah, I'm going to go see the movie. I mean,
You
there's
have
no
to cut
doubt in my
that part
mind.
out.
I've got Movie Pass. I'm going to go see this. I'm going to try and see it opening weekend.
Not for nothing.
I
If
don't
I
know
can go see 50 Shades Free, you can go see Black Panther.
Yeah.
I'm going to drive to Florida and punch you in.
He already done did it, Ronnie Adams. He done did it. He done went and saw it last night.
That's right. I did it with someone that wasn't my wife. What do you think about that?
Don't.
I think you need help.
Mark Radulich, you go first here, sir. Give us what's coming up on the network, what we got to look forward to, all that great stuff.
Let's see. All right. So tomorrow, speaking of defending things that are indefensible, we'll be doing an on trial where I have the dubious task of prosecuting Training Day, and Sean will be defending it. He gets the easy job again. And then on the Metal Hammer of Doom, it's Valentine's Day. What better way to spend Valentine's Day than by reviewing Israeli metal band Orphan Land?
Oh, yeah.
Depending on when you are listening to this, if you're listening to this on the Rattlevision Broadcasting Network, then tomorrow night on the Rattlevision Broadcasting Network was the illustrious return of Damn You Hollywood with Robert Winfrey, and we'll be reviewing the actual Black Panther movie. And the day after that is the Metal Hammer of Doom's review of Philip H. Anselmo and the Illegals, choosing mental illness as a virtue. And then we'll end the week with Aquaman Volume 1, The Trench from the New 52 run, Black Sail Season 2, right, Ronnie? Right, Ronnie?
Mm.
and Metal Hammer of Doom. Oh, Ronnie is really mad at me now. I feel bad. At least you didn't yell at me like my wife did. It's a whole other story. Anyway, Metal Hammer of Doom reviews the new Rumahoy, The Triumph of Piracy. Jesse, there's a song on there called Netflix and Yar.
I've heard it, sir. I listened to most of the album that night while I was waiting for my daughter to get out of the movies.
Isn't it great?
Oh, it was interesting. It's that vocalist. Well, we'll talk about that on
That's
Metal Hammer
Jesse
of Doom.
speak for I hated it.
No, it wasn't that bad. Certainly wasn't that bad. It's no Ailstorm. We'll just put it that way.
It's no Ailstorm. It's no Ailstorm for dogs either.
Can't top that.
No, of course not.
Is that it?
I'm good.
All right. Ronnie Adams of the
Screaming Boy.
What do you got, man? Give us some plugs here. What do we got to look forward to?
I have a show called the Screaming Boy Podcast. We are a little behind in recording right now, but we're going to get something out here soon within the next week or so.
Can I make a suggestion?
What?
Oh no! Don't let him do this to you, Ronnie Adams. Don't let him.
I think on the Screaming Boy Podcast should dedicate an entire show to the 50 Shades series.
Let's do a whole week. Let's alternate movie, book, movie, book, book, movie. Okay? Yeah. Sounds like a plan. No. Ronnie Adams?
No.
Okay. What? Continue.
Anyway, so we just released a couple of I don't even remember what they're about right now, but we released a couple of shows recently. Go back and check them out. Got some stuff coming up. In March, I will be going to North Carolina Comic-Con, so you'll be seeing a lot of pictures, hopefully some videos, and I want to get some maybe a couple of interviews out of there because it's really cool. I went to the North Carolina Comic-Con before when it was in Durham, North Carolina. This one's in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I've met some interesting people there, and they've been to the last couple cons that I've been to, so hopefully I can get get a few words from them. And then in July, I will be going to Raleigh SuperCon, where they just announced a new guest added to the list, and that is Lou Ferrigno will be there. So the guest list at the Raleigh SuperCon has just been insane. They just keep adding more people. It seems like every week, and I'm really excited to be a part of that. So to go, was blessed enough to get some VIP tickets to the SuperCon. So I am really, 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 really excited for that because it allows me to skip a few lines. But John Barrowman from the Arrowverse, Doctor Who, Legends of Tomorrow, Flash, Torchwood, Arrow, the Doctor Who and Torchwood, of course, are not in the Arrowverse, but he plays Dark Archer. Dave Bautista, Christian Cage of WWE and TNA, Michael Dorn, who played Worf on Star Trek New Generation, Lou Ferrigno, Mick Foley, Ryan Hurst from Sons of Anarchy and Remember the Titans, and he also was in Saving Private Ryan, I do believe. Gangrel is going to be there.
I got to meet him one time. It was pretty cool.
Gangrel, cool.
Yep.
Sean Gunn, Amy Jo Johnson, Jerry the King Lawler, Lloyd Kaufman, Trish Stratus, Diamond Dallas Page, William Shatner, Steve Whitmire, who he does a lot of the Muppets and Sesame Street, things like that. Eddie Barrows and Jim Starlin is going to be there, which I'm really super excited about. So there's a lot of people going to be there, and I'm really stoked for this because also they have what's called Fantasy Super Cosplay Wrestling.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to get to see Skeletor and his minions take on, I don't know who's going to be the baby face of that, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, if it ain't a He-Man cosplay.
Gosh, I can't
Come
remember
on.
who. Yeah. So, I mean, they've got Bane, Skeletor, and Evil Lyn are all in one team, and Deadpool is there. So,
Interesting.
yeah, don't miss Skeletor, Evil Lyn, Mr. Satan. What? Deadpool, Bane, Jinx, Ray, Yoko, Littner, Roadhog, Junkrat, Star-Lord, Super Mario, Spider-Man, Daredevil, Melina, Harley Quinn, and more.
Is there going to be a whole show devoted
Yeah,
to that?
everybody wrestles in cosplay.
Oh, that's insane, dude. That's going to be awesome, though.
That's going to be a lot of fun. And then also, I've got something going on with extralife.org. Extralife.org is taking donations for Children's Miracle Network, and they're doing it through gaming. So if you ever see me live on Twitch, SBP Ronnie, usually I'm on there just playing, Call of Duty, Fortnite, PUBG, a lot of different games. You'll see, the link to there. But extralife.org, I'm actually taking donations up to $100, up to $500. Hopefully, I can meet that and double that before it ends in November the 3rd. So I'm taking donations all the way up to November the 3rd, which I will have a 24-hour gaming marathon to finish it off. So we're doing these donations for Children's Miracle Network. And all of the proceeds that I'm doing is going to Duke Children's Hospital. So it is definitely for a really good purpose that we're doing this, and it's for a good cause, and it's been a lot of fun. Cole Marin Tet is actually who inspired me to do this, and I know Sean's involved in it too, Mark. So Sean Comer, and it is you can go to extralife.org, look up my name, Ronnie Adams, and you'll find the webpage there where you can donate. If you see it on Facebook, which you can find Screaming Boy Podcast on Facebook, just look up Screaming Boy Podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Screaming Boy PR. Find us on Instagram, Screaming Boy Podcast. If you see that, please feel free to open your wallet and donate a little bit. And if you don't want to donate or can't donate, if it's something that isn't financially possible for you or anything like that, then all you got to do is hit that share button. Just share it so others can see it and maybe open their wallet. So we're looking to get $500 and then double.
It's a great cause.
Open your heart, Ronnie will make you love him.
Huh.
Okay. Is Adam doing some roll D20 or something?
Yeah, we're also on roll20.com net something. We're
something
playing, yeah. But if you just Google Roll20, all one word, roll 20.
Did you say giggle?
Huh?
Did you
Giggle
say
it?
giggle?
Giggle it.
I want to giggle.
If you
Just
Google
a little bit.
Oh dear God!
Do you giggle it?
If
Just
you Google
a little
Roll20,
bit.
you'll find it. But Adam and I are in there. We're playing a little bit of Dungeons and Dragons online.
Are you guys recording it?
Can we get
No.
Can we get a shirt that says we just want to giggle it just a little bit?
My shirt for source material is just a picture of me holding hand to forehead,
Arm.
looking down.
I was going to say no. The Ronnie Adams T-shirt for source material is just a neck and folded arms and the words harumph.
No, I don't. See, somebody said harumph today that I go harumph. I don't go harumph.
It's Ronnie against the world tonight, ladies and gentlemen. He's
In the back.
fucking pissed.
The back of the T-shirt says, "And I keep coming back."
Yeah.
Somebody said that today on Facebook. Who was that? I'm like, I don't do that.
Jordan Lowe of
Jordan
the
Lowe.
you
I'm
do.
like, no.
No, you're
Jordan,
totally harumph.
I don't do that. I'm actually
You totally harumph.
Hilarious.
I'm going to harump you right in the balls if you don't shut up.
There's a lot of harumping, especially when we disagree.
What day is it today, Ronnie Adams? Harump day. It's every day.
Ronnie Adam just walking through the harumphy hump.
Ronnie, don't ever be late for a podcast again, okay? Because I really don't want this duplicated in any way ever. I don't want to have to. Oh my goodness, giving you too much crap tonight, man. We apologize from the bottom of our hearts. Speaking
I like
of that,
how you're apologizing for Mark.
yeah, well, that's
I haven't. I said I'm sorry.
He'll sing it to you.
Sorry.
Believe it or not, that's so much
He
more
sings it
genuine.
to me, and I have a problem with the validity of that apology.
All right. We got to get out of here. It's almost 12. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jesse Starcher. You just heard the Source Material Podcast. If you are listening to this live on YouTube,
God bless you.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how you've made it this far. We put the raw stuff on YouTube, and then we edit this sucker and put up a fun gag reel over there on the blogtalkradio.com. Just search Rattlich. That's R-A-D.
It is amazing that these things go like 3 hours, and and then you just.
It's a 15-minute episode with a 5-minute gag reel.
I look at the post. It's like, wow, really, an hour? I remember being up a lot later. A lot later than that. What the hell are you cutting?
Oh, hey, you would be surprised. There, and I think I've told you guys this before, but there's a button that you can push on there that eliminates the gaps of silence. And there are times, usually when we go about an hour and a half, where it takes 15 minutes of just complete silence out of there. 15 minutes. Isn't that amazing?
Is there a button to remove harumps?
Clearly not, because I haven't been, or at least I can't find it anyway. It must be in the advanced settings. I'll have to see. But anyway, yes, ladies and gentlemen, you can go check out blogtalkradio.com. Make sure to go give the Rattlich in Broadcasting Network Facebook page a like to stay up on top of all the great podcasts that we have to offer. As mentioned before, we've got MMA. We talk wrestling. We have all sorts of fun podcasts on metal. And a lot of stuff in the archives here for this show here, Source Material. Like I said, we're at 150 episodes. There's probably a book that you may have wanted to read or at least hear some people discuss, maybe kind of find out what happened in there as well.
Like
I'm sure
Listen to us ruin it.
Yeah, listen to us ruin it. We will not be discussing 50 Shades of Grey, Freer.
If there's a comic book, can we cover it?
50 Shades of Grey of the Booty Hole. I'm not talking about it on this podcast ever again.
I will quit.
50 Shades of Grey graphic novel.
No.
Graphic is right.
Tell me there isn't one, Mark. Good. All right. He immediately didn't go, yes! Oh!
I would have been so happy.
Yes, you would have.
I'm
Ronnie's misery is just like it's like the nectar of the gods.
Feed off of it.
He does. He really does. He's like got big old chalices full of your misery, and he just continues to drink them left and right.
The tears of Ronnie's pain.
All right, I'm ready to go to bed. Folks, you know where to find us now. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, all sorts of great platforms out there. I don't know if we're on Spotify. I don't know if that's something that we can actually be on Spotify or if we have to be in some kind of a partnership, but I'll tell you right now.
I don't think we're on Spotify, and I don't know how to get on Spotify.
Okay, all right. I didn't know if that was something.
I tried one time, and I don't know if that's either or not.
So it's some kind. It's some kind of a special deal. All right. Well, I'm not gonna. Then don't go looking for us there because we're not on there. So I wouldn't suggest you go to that as a platform. But yes. blogtalkradio.com is our home. Go search the archives. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm ready to get out of here. Ronnie Adams?
Yeah.
All right. Mark Rattlich?
Yeah.
I'm ready to get out of here.
Wait. Stop. There's two parody books of 50 Shades. What's it called?
Oh, boy. He can't even get it out. I guarantee you it's not as funny as you make it out. It can't be. There's no possible way.
Okay, stop. You're making me laugh.
It's gone into the Muttley laugh.
Okay, here we go.
All right.
One's called 50 Shades of Oy Vey.
Oh, come on.
Wow.
The other one. Wait, there's one more, and then you can sign off.
No, I get out of here. Okay.
Then there's the other one that's called 50 Shames of Earl Grey.
Oh, come on. You're
Good night, folks.
bullshit. All right.
There's a link. I'm going to send you the link.
Well,
There's always a link.
isn't that serendipitous? All right. So, yes, Ronnie Adams, Mark Radulich. I'm Jesse Starcher. Everybody have... Forgot to find that stop broadcast.
I gotta go get it.
Miss me with that bullshit.
You're not a gang member, you're a tourist. I be blacking out. Bought a 83 Cutlass for the...
Oh my goodness! There's a Birth of a Nation comic novel. You don't know what Birth of a Nation is?
Is that a Public Enemy song?
Okay.
Clearly, I don't.
Ooh. And right now there are learned black people going, these fucking white people. This is like wildly racist, if I remember correctly.
Did you say wildly or mildly?
Wildly. The film remains...
Two different things. Very different things. Well, here's what we're going to do. Is going to be
A Birth of a Nation, the comic book.
No.
I don't know if I'm qualified, nor am I willing to participate in that. It has nothing to do with what tell us, what did the villain say at first? The villain comes out of there.
Don't disturb us.
Don't disturb us. Don't disturb us.
We're taking a nap.
Quietly robbing a bank. Don't disturb us. And Captain America says, why
should it go well?
But I'm telling you right now, if you ask me any questions, I'm going to answer you why should it go well.
Don't make me get the air horn.
Come on. T'Challa's past, by the name of Klaw, has also put in place a plan to get revenge against T'Challa's family. Why would the Klaw want to do this? Well, Klaw's... Shut up.
Why should it go well?
It doesn't go well the first time. It's time to get revenge. I honestly wish that it Martin was completely off and it didn't say that. Instead, the confirmation that Captain America actually did say that has ruined this podcast. It has ruined it.
I'm crying.
I'm going to piss out.
I think I know where you're going. Are you going with Mormons?
No, not Mormons.
Okay. Davidians? The Branch Davidians.
Not the
Baptists. I don't know where you're going.
Maybe it was maybe let me call my dad because he used to invite him in the house. Might be the Jehovah's Witnesses. Let's go with that.
And you can get into the whole debate, but
You can get into whole debates. He was that close to saying it.
you can get into the whole debate about the voting system,
and it won't go well.
It does not go well.
Why should it go well?
Especially when Mark Radulich is
on the other end of the table,
roaming to and fro like a lion.
We also waited forever for you to show up.
Yeah, Ronnie Adams.
I fell asleep.
I didn't get to take a nap before the podcast. Maybe that's why I'm on it.
Hey, listen, I only take a 45-minute nap.
Oh, is that it?
Because we were ready to go at 9 o'clock.
Wow.
There was no scheduling tonight. And
Mark Radulich, when's the last time you fucking took a nap?
Probably Metal Hammer of Doom.
Shots fired.
He falls asleep on podcasts, everybody. Mark Radulich, I heard 80% of that, and I agree with 100% of it.
No, don't do that.
You started your sentence with "We live in a culture," and I'm like, "Oh, this is not going to be good."
Oh, wait a second, Mark. You missed your cue, sir. When you hear that, what comes to mind?
This is not going to go well.
Why should it? Why should it go well?
If John Boy down in the trailer park that doesn't make as much money as
isn't going
whatever,
as 50
as what's his name? Something Gray.
Earl Grey.
Mr. Gray.
Dorian Gray.
It's Earl.
So
his name is Earl.
They don't make it. They're not millionaires like Dorian. Whatever. Shut up!
Get you some milk and some tea.
I can't have an opinion that Mark doesn't poop.
Can we call it? I want to go to bed. I really do. And just to go to sleep, not to do anything crazy or kinky.
Not to beat each other with whips. And wear
No, I just want to sleep.
No. I'd rather sew my sack to my leg than get to
What a matchup!
And what a team, Mike. Metro PCS and the iPhone SE for $0 on a network that covers 99% of people in the U.S. Oh, impressive.
Play with the best. Switch to Metro PCS on an unlimited LTE plan and get a 32-gig iPhone SE for $0. Metro PCS. Coverage not available in some areas, plus sales tax. Claim based on talk and text. Not valid for active numbers currently on the T-Mobile network or active on Metro PCS in the past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.
What a matchup!
And what a team, Mike. Metro PCS and the iPhone SE for $0 on a network that covers 99% of people in the U.S. Oh, impressive.
Play with the best. Switch to Metro PCS on an unlimited LTE plan and get a 32-gig iPhone SE for $0. Metro PCS. Coverage not available in some areas, plus sales tax. Claim based on talk and text. Not valid for active numbers currently on the T-Mobile network or active on Metro PCS in the past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.